Good afternoon. My name is Jansen, and I'm starting this video in an attempt to give you some basic background information into my company. As well, I also wanted to give you some insight into the marketing strategies that we will use to implement the product and service that we're providing into the target market. We'll give you a little bit of insight into who that is and the reason that we're targeting them specifically throughout the course of this video. The most important thing that I wanted to achieve during the recording of this video, however, was to give you some insight into the purpose for creating my company. I wanted to give you the reason that we operate, because I'm a firm believer in the idea that Sinek postulated in one of his TED Talks, when he said that people do not buy what you do, right? They don't buy the product, they don't buy the service that you offer. Now that may sound counterintuitive, but what he postulated was what they buy into, what they buy is what you do. They they buy they don't, excuse me, they don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. What people buy into is your purpose. They buy into your mission. And this purpose, this mission, or what he called it, your why, it defines every other aspect of this business. And this is something that I was able to discover as I was going through the process of creating a marketing plan. If you've never undergone the process of creating a marketing plan, this is a very complex document that covers basically every aspect of the business. I think a lot of us want to think of marketing as advertisement. And while that's definitely a part of marketing, marketing goes much further than that. Marketing defines how you're going to offer the product, who you're going to offer it to. It requires research. And it also does require some advertisement, of course. But all of that should come back to this why, this purpose. And by the way, I'm a firm believer that when an entrepreneur creates a business, their personal why becomes the business wise, not the other way around. We don't create a product and make our purpose to create that product, because ultimately we will lose energy. We'll lose, maybe not interest, but we'll lose some of that fire, because eventually business becomes difficult. It's a hard process. And this mission actually fuels us. And so when I was creating this business, I had to first create a why. To give you full understanding, the business that I've created provides automotive assistance to those that experience automotive emergencies, particularly roadside emergencies, whether that be on the actual side of the road or say stranded in like a parking lot at a gas station, something like that. But the service that I created, it wasn't just an arbitrary whim. What I did was I defined my personal purpose and then matched my personal purpose to the purpose of the business. Or excuse me, the purpose of the business to my personal purpose. Because my why defines the business. And so I thought, well, what is my personal why? What is my personal fuel for getting out of bed every morning? Right. And I thought, well, ultimately, I want to serve the Lord. I'm very strong in my faith, and I believe that I am called into full-time ministry. But I'm not called into paid ministry. I mean, there's a difference, because we're all called to be ministers for God. We're all called to further his kingdom. But not all of us are called to go into full-time paid ministry, right? Because God gives each and every one of us gifts. And God's given me a business acumen that I feel like I need to use to better serve my community. Right? My gift is business, so I need to serve him using business. And that's the reason for creating this company. And I thought, well, how do I be a minister in the world of business? Like I can't sell sermons, right? That's not what the business is about. My business is created to serve him and to serve his kingdom because my personal why defines the business's why. And so I thought, well, how do I serve God with my business? And I thought of what Christ said were the greatest commandments: to love the Lord your God with all your heart and to love your neighbor as yourself. Right? And part of showing this love to the Father is obeying him, obeying his word. And he's very clearly called us to serve our fellow neighbor, to love each other. So I thought, well, how can I use business to serve my neighbor? And I figured, and what my company decided to do was create a mission to show the love of God to all those around us by meeting their needs in time of stress. I looked at the part of marketing is research. And I understood that my ultimate why was to love God and love his people. So I did some research into the area in which I would be operating. And I found a need that had not yet been fulfilled. By the way, this is no easy task because let's face it, in our modern business world, there's so many businesses doing so many incredible things, even businesses that aren't Christian. They're doing things to help those around you. So I had to think about what my personal experience in business would give me the ability to do, as well as what need was there that I might fulfill. So I looked at the community needs. I found the place that needed my attention, and I'm looking to fill that need. And like I said earlier, my business is to provide roadside assistance. Because while there's plenty of places that repair vehicles, there's not a lot of places that will walk with you hand in hand during this time of stress. Because let's face it, when you're stranded on the side of the road, this can be a very intimidating feeling. Because most of us don't have any experience with vehicles. We don't know how to fix them ourselves. And let's face it, if that check engine light comes on, we don't know what it is. We don't have the tools to look at it. We don't even know if we're able to drive it to the mechanic. Right? We don't know how long we have until the vehicle explodes or something like that. So we need some help. And that's where my company steps in. Right? And sometimes you don't even need the help of a mechanic. Right? You just need a specialized technician to help you repair a flat tire. Maybe a rock, maybe you were following a semi truck. A rock flew up and hit the windshield and it's cracked and it's not safe to drive, but you really don't need to go all the way to a mechanic. You definitely don't have time to wait for an appointment. That's where my company steps in. We're there to help you in this time of stress. And so one of the strategies that we're going to be implementing is to choose a singular target market, right? And to serve those people during these times of stress. Given what our mission is and given the service that we're providing, the target market that we are focusing on is residents that are vehicle owners. Now, that doesn't have to be permanent residents because given the area that we're operating in, we understand that there's a lot of tourists in the area, which actually just increases the need for my company because when you're driving long distances, putting wear and tear in your car, things happen. And when you're out of town, when you don't know the local mechanics, when you don't know the local shops or who to trust, it can be intimidating. And that's where my company steps in. And by the way, this doesn't just include personal residences. This includes businesses as well. We understand that local businesses and even emergency services utilize vehicles that may need our assistance. I mean, just because it's an ambulance doesn't mean that it can't experience mechanical failure, right? It can still get a flat tire. And they don't really have time to take it all the way to a mechanic. If the windshield gets cracked, they need some immediate assistance. And that's when my company can step in. So I took a look at our abilities and I thought, well, one of the things that we will need to do is implement a strong series of collaborators, right? Because vehicle repair is a very complex task, right? And so we won't be able to fix every little thing that goes wrong on a vehicle. We can meet basic needs. And actually, by meeting these basic needs, we are meeting our purpose. We're showing the love of God to those around us because we're saving them stress. In fact, that's why our motto in our marketing plan and in our advertisement phase specifically, we're focusing on the slogan, let us handle the stress so that you can handle what matters. You know, our vehicle is more than just an object, it's a tool, right? It gets us from place to place so that we can live our lives and do our jobs so that we can provide for our families. Our vehicles are much, much more than just some object that we own. And so when something goes wrong, it creates so much stress because you don't know how to fix it. You don't know where to get it fixed. And you don't know when you'll be able to fulfill all these other obligations because your car's down. Which is why if you let us handle the little things, let us handle the stress, you can focus on what matters. But when there's something that we can't fix on the side of the road, when it's something that our specialized technicians aren't trained to do, we'll need the help of local businesses to help repair those vehicles. And so what we plan to do is work with shops in the area, find people who are honest, who are trustworthy, who share at least some of the same mission, even if it's not the exact same mission. And it's actually a win-win because we will bring them new business because that fulfills our mission. If we can't help you, our mission isn't profits, it's to help you. So we'll get you to someone who can. And that creates more business for the organization and it helps us fulfill our mission. So it's a win-win for both us and our collaborators, which is why we need such a strong network of collaborators in the area. Taking a look at what our abilities are, the service that we will offer is assistance with basic needs. So if you go into the grocery store and you come out and your battery's dead, we'll be able to assist you with that. Like I said earlier, if you're following a semi truck, a rock comes up and shatters your windshield. It's no longer safe to drive. You're stuck on the side of the road. We'll be able to come out and either repair the windshield if it's a small crack or replace it altogether if it's completely shattered. Tires go flat all the time, whether it's a leak or a giant gash. I mean, that tire has to be replaced if you want to get to your destination safely, which is why we'll be able to patch tires that can be patched or replace tires that can't right there on the side of the road in the parking lot of your work, at the grocery store, wherever it is where we are a mobile business. If you've locked yourself out of your vehicle, our technicians will be trained locksmiths, be able to help you with that as well. And like I said earlier, we'll have the ability to take a look at check engine lights and at least read the code so that we can say, hey, you can drive this over to a mechanic and give them recommendations if they need that. Or if the vehicle really shouldn't be driven, our fleet will actually include tow trucks so that we can get your vehicle to one of our collaborators and not only get your vehicle there, but get you there. So we want to be a one-stop shop, basically, for people in need of our help. And so thinking about how do we implement this marketing, like I've already discussed a couple of our strategies, but everything falls under holistic marketing. It all goes back to this why. Right, as we introduce advertisements, we're planning to do radio, podcasts, TV. We're planning to do local advertisements. It all comes back to this why. We want to portray that we are here to help, right? Because that's the ultimate purpose for our business. And we have to stay on message for that, which means our actions have to portray our words, right? We have to live the way that we speak. And that means that profits will have to come second. Now, please understand that I'm not saying that profits are not important to my company because I understand that they very much are. You know, without profits, this business, which by the way will be very expensive to implement and continue to run, we won't be able to do that without profits. But the ultimate success of our company comes in whether or not we're meeting our purpose. So if I'm not meeting my purpose, then I'm not being successful in my business, even if I'm making a profit, right? Which is why one of the strategies that we will implement is part of marketing, by the way, is gauging the success of your business. Well, all of the metrics that we will focus on will be, how are we implementing our purpose? Probably the most important way we will do that is surveys, asking our customers if we were able to not only fix the issue, but provide them stress relief during their time of vehicle emergency. And using the responses for that survey, we can accurately gauge how we as a company are able to fulfill our mission. And by the way, I put in here an interesting point from Jim Collins in his book, From Good to Great. The employees that we hire will not just be hardworking employees, but employees that are bought into the mission. I mean, that will be part of the screening process. Are you dedicated to furthering the mission of the company? Because a lot of companies hire well qualified candidates, but eventually the why of your employees becomes the why of the company. That's just how as the company grows, that's how things are shaped. So we will make sure that we hire employees that are dedicated to furthering the why of our company. And once we find those employees, we will give them the training that they need to be successful in the physical portion of the job, and we'll provide them with excellent benefits, which is part of the way that we offer benefits and incentives to both our consumers, businesses, and our future employees. Hope this gives you a good idea of how my business will run, a little bit into the background, some interesting insights into the ultimate strategy of how we will implement our marketing plan, and most importantly, the mission or the purpose behind the company. If you'd like to learn more about my company and how we will implement our full marketing plan, I ask that you take a look at the full document market plan that will be attached to this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.